Welcome back to Great Day Washington. Life can throw us some serious curveballs when we least expect it. And for our next guest, 15 years ago, his journey took a drastic turn.
Connor McKemey was just 13 when he was burned over 90% of his body and given a 1% chance to live. But now he's sharing his own life battle to help others fight theirs with the right mentality. Connor, thank you so much for being here. An incredible story that you have. When you were 13, there was an accident, right? What happened?
Yeah, so I was a hopeless romantic little kid, who was just trying to impress this girl on our first real big date. And before she came, I just wanted to surprise her with this outdoor fire and some lights up, just a romantic scene. And in my haste trying to get the fire started before she came, it ended up exploding on me and burning me about 90% of my body, 75% being third degree. And it definitely changed my life from that point on.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Could you take us back to that moment real quick and just share with us how you were able to come to grips, or the first time you saw yourself at that age when that happened?
So I was in a medically induced coma for about 3 months while they performed about 100 surgeries. And when I woke up, I was obviously in a completely different world. Mm-hmm. My body was wrapped head to toe in bandages, and you could tell that things weren't good. You could tell that I couldn't move. I was missing a few fingers, and I just was scared of what the reality was going to be. And when they finally tell me, hey, you're probably never going to walk again, you're probably not going to play sports, it was tough to take at 13 years old, and I turned 14 in the hospital. But I was very fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of wonderful people, my family, doctors, and everybody in the community supported me. That just gave me that initial bit of hope to try to change that situation. And I knew I couldn't change what happened to me, but I could change what was coming next, and that would be how I reacted to it and how I could continue to go forward.
It's a lot for a 13-year-old, 14-year-old to think about, right? Yeah. You got your whole future ahead of you. How do you even, with the 13-year-old brain, think that and move forward and get past that?
I think I benefited from being young because, you're still a little naive. You're still full of hope and full of ambition. And I don't think it was easy for me to process the other side, right? The other side of, hey, you're not going to be able to do these things. It was all I knew was playing sports, hanging out with my friends, going to school. That was the only life I knew. And I was like, I'll do anything I can to get back there. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but if I could just put one foot in front of the next and just try to get a little bit better each day, I knew eventually I'd get to where I wanted to go. I just didn't know how long it would take.
And not only did you start walking again, you went on to play college lacrosse. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've
for sure persevered, right? And I can only imagine you had such an amazing support system in your parents and family to help guide you through the hard times. What was the hardest part of the recovery for you?
So I talk about, maybe the hardest part is coming to grips with the way that I looked, right? I think the rehab and everything else came naturally because I was an athlete. I was used to getting hurt. You rehab, you get better. You injure your shoulder, ankle, whatever it is, you got to give it time to heal. But it was the emotional damage, the internal damage of being able to see myself and find, joy and love, and the reflection was just something that, a lot of people struggle with. Mm-hmm. And at that time in my life, it was very difficult. I spent probably a good year brushing my teeth in a without looking in the mirror, getting ready without being in the mirror. And again, without having that group of people around me that showed me, they're going to love me for the content of my character, not the way that I looked, right? And that's what really opened my eyes. Nobody treated me any differently. They all showered me with love, and it allowed me to be comfortable in my own skin. And eventually I healed, and I healed internally. That allowed me to just come to grips and accept. And now it's I love who I am, and that's the most important thing.
That's amazing. And you've gone on, now you're helping others as well. You have a Mac mentality. What are you all about?
So, a couple years ago, I started this company because I wanted to have an impact, especially with our youth and our mental health and mental awareness and our body image. And I wanted to provide a message to kids that, life is worth fighting for. No matter how difficult it may be, it's worth fighting for, and it's worth knowing that you're not alone in that fight. I think for me, what I learned in my experiences is if I was battling that stuff alone and in a silo, I would have never made it. I would have never gotten to where I can be today. And so my goal was, when we go to talk to kids, when we go to talk to businesses, wherever we go talk to, is just to remind people, life is precious, it's beautiful, it's worth fighting for, and it's worth knowing that you're not alone in your fight, and we're here for you.
Yeah. You can read more of Connor's story in his best-selling book, Life Ignited, A Hopeful Journey Sparked by Fire. And also check out MacMentality.com.